Starstruck.
Well, welcome back to Joyride. I am Jared Brandon Flandy, and
I'm Adam Mendenhall.
this is the show where we talk about all things transportation and adventure, and we are back for another episode. How are you doing, Adam?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. Well, we have a new special story episode today, but before that, of course, I want to make a couple announcements. I want to remind everyone, of course, we are on Patreon. We appreciate your support there. It'd also be cool if you want to check out our parent company's website, which is starstruckcompany.com. Mind you, all these things are in the description box below. But we also write, particularly for these story episodes, we write scripts for these, do research and that kind of thing. And you can check that out on the Starstruck Medium page, which we'll also put a link in the description box. But if you want more of your Joyride experience by looking at these scripts, reading through them, and checking out our sources, you can do it that way as well. Additionally, we want to make a shout out to our friend Noah Norwood of the Hot Rod Kid podcast. Noah has different guests on from the hot rod community. He's also a professional automotive restorer, working on old Mustangs and old Ford V8s and that kind of thing. And once again, that show is the Hot Rod Kid podcast. It's available on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, Adam. So, as you know, we're not necessarily covering one vehicle today, but a series of different vehicles on a particular journey or adventure, we could call it, okay?
Indeed. That's a creative weigh-in.
So this really is a joyride for the ages right here, okay? And the name of this story is Man on the Run, John McAfee.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it gets worse, trust me. All right, so here we go. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a joyride is, quote, a ride taken for pleasure, as in a car or aircraft. According to the Cambridge English Dictionary, a joyride is, quote, an occasion when someone drives fast and dangerously for pleasure, especially in a stolen vehicle. In regards to the life and joyrides of Silicon Valley entrepreneur John McAfee, the Cambridge definition would be far more accurate. Now, do you know much about this individual, Adam?
a little bit.
A little bit here and there. Okay, so what you don't know, what you do know, we'll add on to it probably here. So, our story begins in the Forest of Dean region in England on September 18th, 1945. This was the day John McAfee was born. His father was an American soldier, and his mother was a young British woman. So, and he's probably stationed there right after World War II, is what's going on here. When John was young, the family moved to the United States, specifically to Roanoke, Virginia. John's youth was not a happy one. When the family returned to the United States, his father found employment as a road surveyor, but his father was an alcoholic and was known to frequently abuse both him and John's mother. So not a very good start in life. The abusive existence would come to a crashing halt when McAfee's father committed suicide. John was only 15 years old at the time. John would graduate high school and then enroll at Roanoke College, where he majored in mathematics. During this time in college, John began to drink heavily for the first time in his life.
Like most, naturally.
Well, it's funny you say that because this is something I wanted to point out is that, you know, there's this very societal image of college and university life being basically this hedonistic resort.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is not in so many ways. For so many people, college is hell on earth. And my sister, she has a health degree. And even in her college classes, she learned that generally one of the most unhealthiest periods of your life is when you're in college.
Wow.
You're losing sleep. You're under a lot of stress. You're probably under more stress than a person who works a 9 to 5 is.
That's true.
And of course, using substances in college is not a myth, but it's not necessarily for partying. I mean, there's some people that do that and graduate their 2.5 or GPAs or whatever it is. There's a lot of people who are drinking to deal with the stress of it. There's a lot of people like coffee. There's people in colleges that just guzzle coffee just to keep going. And I've not personally known people, but I've heard stories of people even resorting to amphetamines, to keep going.
Just to get by.
And so I don't know if he's like, it sounds like he's like got a major problem here. He's like never not sober and making an ass of himself in classes, but this isn't exactly unique is what I'm trying to say. So I'll get off my soapbox and move on, so it's like, so I'm not pointing out any one particular kind of universities or colleges, but that's something where maybe they need to be kind of rethinking the curriculum a little bit, if you're pushing people to that point.
Very true. I don't think people have visibility on that a lot.
No. So anyway, while in college, John would start his first business venture, which was selling magazines. His pitch was with each subscription he offered, the magazines would be free. There was a catch, however. The new subscriber had to pay shipping and handling fees, which went straight into the pocket of John. In other words, even at such a young age, John was already foreshadowing the shrewd businessman he had eventually become. He claimed he made a small fortune with his magazine business, but also have claimed to spend most of the money he made on alcohol. So despite what I said, it sounds like maybe he's just kind of screwing off of it.
It certainly sounds like it a little bit.
Despite his cocktail-fueled magazine dealings, he would graduate from Roanoke College and this time began to earn a Ph.D. at Northwest Louisiana State College. That's a mouthful. That's a catchy name. Some complications would occur with his education, however. And no, it was not the booze. He was kicked out of college when it was discovered he had started a relationship with one of his graduate students. But he did eventually marry her.
Well, at least there's that.
I love how, this is not that long ago, but that was always just the cure-all to any of these scandalous situations. Well, I married her. Oh, okay, well, we're fine then. Never mind.
Oh, my gosh.
Let's see here. John then had found a job in the private sector by working for the Missouri Pacific Railroad in the 1960s. He worked with the railroad's new IBM mainframe computer, which was used to calculate train schedules.
Oh.
So that sounds kind of like, okay, look kind of low tech, but at the time, that's the height of the technology.
I'm sure, yeah, that would be the pinnacle back then.
Let's see here. In Missouri, yeah, I'm not sure if Missouri Pacific is public or private, but nonetheless, that is kind of still the epitome of technology at the time. During his time working on the railroad, John discovered a new pastime of his, and that was hard drugs, particularly LSD. At his time at Missouri Pacific Railroad, John worked for various Silicon Valley companies and organizations, including NASA during the Apollo era. By the 1980s, he was working for other aerospace companies such as Lockheed. Now, this is according to John himself. One of his favorite morning routines during this period was snorting a line of cocaine across his desk while downing a bottle of scotch.
Oh, my God.
I'm not sure if this is true. I've also heard it was reported he liked to play Russian roulette on occasion as well.
Wow. Hard to even put your mind on that point. Yeah, that's.
By this point, he realized he may have had a little bit of a drug and alcohol problem.
Gee, you think?
So he decided to get sober by 1983.
Oh my God. Yeah, you can only keep up that regimen every day for so long.
things would change forever by the mid-1980s with the introduction of the GUI-based or GUI-based Apple Macintosh in 1984 and the introduction of Microsoft Windows in 1985. The personal computer was moving away from being a curiosity. It was now starting to become an everyday part of life for the everyday person. Now, I won't get into this too heavily, but of course, if you want to get into like early personal computer technology, Xerox was the first company to develop the graphical user interface.
Oh, were they?
Yes, they were, of which Steve Jobs had made a deal with Xerox to essentially take a look at it. So the Macintosh was the first like large-scale commercially available GUI. It does get that credit.
Okay.
And of course, Microsoft saw this one. Well, we got to get in the game too. Then Windows comes out in 1985. So
Interesting timing.
yeah. When the first major computer virus, known as quote Brain, hit the IT scene in 1986.
It's a heck of a name.
John heard a business opportunity calling. With the help of a fellow programmer, they developed what is considered to be the world's first antivirus program, which they called Virus Scan. In 1987, they formed a company to sell the program, which was originally called McAfee and Associates Incorporated. When another early virus hit, this time known as Michelangelo, started to become a problem, John used this to his advantage. At this time, generally, it was only businesses that used his software, so John used scare tactics in order to get the average home computer user to purchase his antivirus software. The virus only targeted computers in the tens of thousands, but his shrewd strategy worked. By the late 1980s, McAfee and Associates was making $5 million a year.
Wow.
And you probably remember this. I mean, I haven't used, I use both PC and Mac now, so, but I remember growing up, McAfee antivirus was like almost, it was on every computer you had.
Oh, it was commonplace, yeah. You saw that CD and everything, too.
So, by 1994, John decided to resign from the company he founded. A bit later, he decided to sell all his shares in the company. This move ended up giving him a personal fortune of $100 million. So not a bad gig. As the 1990s rolled by and the new millennium began, John lived a relatively quiet life and tried his best to keep a low profile. He began embracing one of the biggest fads of the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the New Age lifestyle.
Oh,
so this
enlightenment.
Enlightenment. Starbucks is coming on. People are getting into what all that's
holistic
stuff, and that new spirituality.
Yeah.
So, in 2000, he purchased a large piece of property in Colorado so he could build a yoga resort and sanctuary.
Of course.
I'm not making fun of people who do yoga, but it's just so stereotypical for the time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, super stereotypical.
John's Zen life would hit a snag when he divorced his second wife, Judy, in 2002. Things were about to get even worse for Mr. McAfee, however. 6 years later, the largest economic crisis since the Great Depression had started in 2008, which I remember very well.
I do as well.
And, a lot of people, you don't hear it talked about too much. And, a Gen Z person was probably very young when that was occurring. But when that hit, I was just like in the tail end of high school. So life got very uncertain very quickly.
Yeah, it kind of makes the future go, oh, this is looking a little bleaker than I had anticipated.
It was kind of a scary time. So as a result, his personal fortune had declined from a peak of $100 million to only $4 million in an exceptionally short amount of time.
Whoa, that's a huge span.
John would end up leaving the United States and become a resident of Belize, a small Central American country on the Caribbean coast. Now, he has a claim for why he does this, but this is my theory. Belize is a Central American country. Even though his fortune has dwindled considerably. He could still probably live there high off the hog pretty cheaply with what he has left. Yeah,
for the rest of his days, easily.
He doesn't have nearly what he had, but he's still a millionaire. So,
Yep.
He claimed his intention for this move was to build a laboratory on his mansion estate in order to begin bacteria research. But the project ended up falling through when the biology scientist he was working with decided to not become a part of the project. The authorities of Belize would eventually raid McAfee's laboratory under suspicion it may have actually been a meth production lab. Now, that's what they claim. We know his backstory, so it's hard to know who to believe in this situation, okay?
It's true.
So, McAfee has defended his innocence on this matter by blaming it on the corrupt government of Belize since he earlier refused to make a political contribution of $2 million.
Only.
Uh-huh. Whether the drug claims were legit or not, John became known around the small country and reportedly donated money to the Brazilian police. So he was kind of like a twisted Robin Hood of sorts, I guess you could call him.
It certainly sounds like it.
However, there was one person in Belize who was not a fan of John McAfee, and that was his fellow American neighbor Greg Fall. Fall would eventually file a report against McAfee, mostly due to John's, quote, 8 to 12 vicious dogs.
8 to 12.
Very specific, I know. Yeah. Which apparently scared the pet parrot Fall usually had perched on his shoulder.
God.
Now, do you think this is already weird?
It's already getting a little weird.
It's going to get weirder.
Oh, boy. Buckle up.
Yeah. Greg Fall also thought it was odd that McAfee had armed guards posted around his house and also did not approve of people coming and going at all times of the night. Things would reach a climax when Greg Fall was found dead in his house from a gunshot wound to the head in November of 2012.
Ooh.
Suspiciously, it was reported that McAfee's dogs had been poisoned not long beforehand.
Oh, that is, foul play.
McAfee was soon wanted for questioning, mind you, just questioning. And as a result, John decided to bail. He also made claims it was a setup by the government of Belize so they could kill him. The worst thing the then Prime Minister of Belize had to say about McAfee was he thought John was, quote, bonkers.
That guy is nuts.
John's plan was to escape Belize by hightailing it to neighboring Guatemala. Being the showman he was, John could not go on this adventure without having it documented, so he enlisted a team of journalists from Vice magazine.
Oh, my God. That's an appropriate outlet.
Is that an appropriate outlet? This included editor-in-chief Rocco Costoro and veteran cameraman Robert King. In the documentary film Running with the Devil, King had this to say at the beginning of the venture, quote, "What was the plan? We had no plan. I mean, I didn't know that the plan was just to film this man on the run." So they're just going for it.
They're just, yeah.
He further stated, "And I'm just filming, drinking and filming, stupid shit." Obviously, this was the right cameraman for the job.
No kidding.
So he additionally elaborated he did not buy new equipment for the assignment, and even one of the cameras he was using was given to him by someone at a bar.
Oh, my gosh.
The Vice journalist left Miami by plane in December of 2010. In that period between 2010 and 2012, and landed in Belize, where they told they'd be picked up. A van eventually approached them, and among others inside was John McAfee himself. John also had his Latin American girlfriend Sam with him. Certain members of the Vice team would later comment, "She looked barely legal."
Of course.
Yeah, of course. He's like above 60 right now.
Oh, my gosh.
McAfee began this part of the Joyride by largely smoking cigarettes and pretending he had some kind of disability. He was apparently doing this as part of his disguise to not be recognized. While the merry band of outlaws made their way to Guatemala, they decided to stop at a hotel in the middle of the jungle next to the Guatemalan border. John spent most of the time walking the grounds of the hotel with a cane, continuing to pretend he had suffered from some kind of stroke.
What an actor.
When John was not doing this, the vice journalist set him down to conduct interviews between him and Castoro. One of these interviews was interrupted when John was informed by a member of his entourage they had to leave immediately. The vice journalists were almost left behind as the overloaded van was getting ready to continue to sputter and backfire its way through the jungle.
Jeez.
So we're planes, we're in vans. Okay, we already got two modes of transport.
Yeah. Let's one to the next here.
They got in the vicinity of the border and then continued their fugitive joyride by making their way to Guatemala, traveling by boat. They got off the boat and made their way toward the customs office. Out of everyone, Sam seemed to be the most concerned. They were traveling between countries illegally. Leave it to the woman, of course.
Of course.
Yes. John tried to bribe the customs officer, even as his girlfriend told him not to. The guard refused the bribe and proceeded to freeze everyone's passports, including the vice journalist.
Ooh.
So this thing about apparently Latin American countries having corrupt borders, at least not in this case whatsoever.
No, not at all.
So this guy was being very honest. So luckily for John, his girlfriend had a trick up her sleeve. She revealed her great uncle was a lawyer who worked as the former Attorney General of Guatemala, and maybe he could help them.
Whoa.
Where does that come from?
Yeah. Just pull that out of my hat.
Yeah. They called the uncle, and he told them to get to Guatemala City in order for him to help. The motley crew ended up staying another night in a hotel since the city was 6 hours away. John also planned to hire a limo to transport them on the last leg of their journey. And they're on the lam, essentially.
Yeah, trying to be inconspicuous or what? I mean, come on. A limo?
A limo. The following morning, they conducted another interview with John, and the journalist took a group photo of all of them, including McAfee, so they could post it on the Vice blog. This would be a bad idea, however. When they posted the photo, the file additionally featured their GPS coordinates.
Oh.
So, in other words, if you want to find out where they are, you know exactly where they are in the world right now.
Yeah, exactly.
John said they had to leave immediately because bad people were after him, and harm may befall all of them since their location was now known. That's the other thing, too. He never really specifies, at least during this period. He's just always just saying bad people are after him.
Yeah. Just across the board, bad people.
The uncle told them to get to the city as quickly as they could and sent a driver to pick him up. So apparently the limo thing went out the door, I guess. Once they arrived in Guatemala City, John checked them all into one of the most fancy and ostentatious hotels in the country. Once again, very inconspicuous.
Mm-hmm.
They met with the uncle, and John explained his situation and also claimed he was going to marry his niece, the uncle's niece, so Sam. This was my favorite part. He continued by cordially apologizing for the fact they may have a potential criminal in the family.
Oh my gosh. Surprise.
Yeah. Afterward, John came up with another good idea. He would hold a press conference declaring he was seeking asylum in Guatemala. They returned to the hotel, and partway through their time there, the authorities decided to take John into custody. As King was filming them escort John away, King asked where he was going. John casually replied, quote, "To jail."
Got nothing to hide anymore.
Federales continued to surround the hotel, so the vice journalists thought it best to stay in their hotel rooms until the commotion had died down. So they're hiding, basically.
Oh, my God.
While the rest of the team were worried for obvious reasons, King spent this time leisurely getting a massage in the hotel spa.
Really? Wow.
He's just totally just like, screw it, man.
He's just checking out.
The vice journalist eventually received a surprising bit of news. John had suffered a heart attack and was rushed to a nearby hospital.
Ooh.
Conveniently, right? Not only did John not die from the heart attack in the Guatemalan hospital, but he instead had managed to get back to U.S. soil.
Really?
It's thought more than likely he faked the heart attack and through bribes and connections made his way back to Florida. When he was in Miami, he hailed a cab and checked into a fancy hotel in South Beach. During this period, he procured the services of a prostitute named Janice. She would eventually become John's third wife.
Of course. That's how these things happen.
Janice claimed her pimp, later on, had told her that a man from a cartel was out for John, and so she was ordered to poison him, that being John. She decided not to, so they decided to leave Florida. The couple even resided in Portland, Oregon for a time.
Oh, what a small world it is, isn't it?
I mean, of all places, John McAfee needs to hang out. It's Portland, Oregon, other than Miami, obviously.
No kidding.
It's made for him.
It's
Portland, Las Vegas, and Miami.
Tailored to him, for sure.
John started to become more famous than he'd ever had been. In 2013, he posted a video on YouTube about how to install McAfee antivirus from your computer. And I kind of remember this, do you?
I do. Yep, I do remember this. Yep.
The video featured him apparently snorting white powder as risque women danced around him while he sat at a table with a plethora of guns on its surface.
Oh, my God. What a riot.
He also became known for endorsing certain cryptocurrencies. Why not at this point?
Of course.
Yes.
When you're in that deep, go all in.
Yeah.
If you haven't already.
John would enter politics in 2015. I sort of remember this too.
Yeah.
Mind you, when he did this, and along with that YouTube video, I always just thought of John McAfee as the Silicon Valley guy. I didn't realize he was into drugs and was on the run for questioning for murder. I didn't realize any of that at the time.
Oh, same here. I didn't either.
So he ran for president under the Libertarian ticket. He even participated in the Libertarian debate, but obviously he did not win the presidency. So. In January of 2020, he posted on Twitter that he had fathered 47 children. That's all he said. No explanation of it.
Wow.
That same year, the United States Justice Department charged him for tax evasion and failing to submit tax returns. This was not a hard claim to make, since John said in a posted video online in which This is not a hard claim to make, since John said in a posted online video in which he stated he had not paid taxes for years and had no intention of doing so in the future.
Just what they want to hear.
Just what they want to hear. As a result, he decided to go on the run again. This time he brought with him his new wife, Janice, a team of bodyguards, and invited Robert King along again to videotape all of it.
Oh, my God.
Before they left Florida, John had to make a couple of pit stops, though. First was the bank, where John withdrew many stacks of cash, and the next stop was to purchase I think it's a firearm, anything like that.
Yeah.
A wig.
A wig?
They found a shop where he was fitted with a long strawberry blonde wig, which made him look like a combination of Lady Gaga and Anna Wintour.
Oh, my God.
He also decided to sport some oversized sunglasses to add to the effect.
Oh, well, that's just fabulous.
It's part of his disguise, obviously.
Uh-huh. Again, inconspicuous.
Yeah. Even though he was on the run, John did not hesitate to tell everyone in the shop who he was, and even proceeded to take photos with him while still sporting his wig and sunglasses.
Wow.
So now they know exactly what
he
looks like in his quote-unquote disguise, which is not hard to find. We're looking for a Lady Gaga with a beard and some oversized sunglasses.
Pretty much.
They got back into the Lincoln SUV. He seemed to prefer those, while wearing his new wig and sunglasses, and made their way to a yacht that John owned, which he claimed he bought from, quote, the Wolf of Wall Street.
From Jordan, huh?
I wrote this here. This more than likely is Jordan Belfort, who was portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio, the film of the same name. So that's appropriate. If you know that story. The yacht, extra appropriate, it was named The Great Mystery. Before they embarked, John insisted the weapons be the first thing to be loaded on the boat. When this was done, they made their way to the Bahamas. When they got to the Dominican Republic, however, the weapons aboard became a problem since they apparently had brought 17 more than customs allowed.
Oh my gosh.
With the custom problems eventually solved, they made their way back out into the open ocean. According to King, they spent most of their time filming and consuming drugs and alcohol.
Jeez.
Bath salts apparently was the preferred drug of John. Now, I'm not saying this to sound high and mighty. I know absolutely nothing about drugs, and so I tried looking up what bath salts were. From what I could find, they might be like in the meth family of some sort, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure if someone does know that, by all means, send us an email.
Yeah.
According to King, John continued to claim people were after him, but it was not entirely clear who it was at a given time, as usual. Sometimes he said it was the Brazilian government or one of the cartels, since he claimed he knew sensitive information pertaining to both of them. Now, keep in mind, either of these could be plausible, since McAfee at one time was the world's leading expert of cybersecurity. So breaking into secure computer systems would be something relatively easy for him.
You would think.
Yeah.
One would think so.
King even speculated maybe nobody was after him, but even King himself was not sure of anything at this point. So, as the days on the seas progressed, John's behavior began to become more and more strange, until the point he started randomly shooting his gun on the boat. At one point, he casually suggested to shoot King, just casually suggested to King he may shoot him. Once they made land, King booked it for the nearest airport. Despite the concerns, King would reunite with them later. Now, one of the sources here was the documentary Running with the Devil. I think he did come back. I was a little unclear on that, but he did film later. Portions were filmed later. So,
okay.
So I'm kind of going off that. These fears were not unwarranted. Aside for being wanted for questioning regarding the death of his neighbor, others have speculated, and mind you, this is speculation. And actually, I'm gonna pause here for a second, okay? A lot of this story is speculation. So some of this is hard facts. Some of this is a lot of just hearsay and people saying things. So we do have to kind of keep that in consideration here. So once again, I'll start thinking here. These fears were not unwarranted. Aside for being wanted for questioning regarding the death of his neighbor, others have speculated John's father may have not committed suicide.
Whoa.
John himself may have killed his father in order to protect his mother from him, and then staged it to look like a suicide.
Oh my gosh, that adds another level to it all.
As mentioned before, this has not been confirmed, however. This is just some thoughts, okay? So, alas, another strange incident occurred when the yacht had reached what may have been Germany. An altercation occurred with authorities regarding John wearing a lady's thong as a mask instead of a proper mask during the height of the COVID pandemic.
Oh my.
I mean,
What
in
a
theory,
scene. What a scene.
In theory, it's cloth.
Yeah. Yes.
Alas, John was finally arrested in Spain and was held on charges regarding tax evasion and an additional sum of $23 million he was paid for endorsing cryptocurrencies, something he did not close to his social media followers.
Of course not.
Yeah. In July of 2021, McAfee was ordered to be extradited back to the United States. Hours before he was to be deported, John McAfee was found dead in his cell. It was ruled a suicide.
Or so they'd like us to think.
Kind of like somebody else.
Yes,
who also was very wealthy, had a private island, that kind of thing. During Sam's interview in the film Running with the Devil, she said she had a peculiar bit of information to reveal. She said 2 weeks after John's death, she received a call from Texas. The person on the other line said, quote, "It's me, John. I paid off people to pretend that I'm dead, but I'm not dead." End quote.
What?
Once again, just her word. But so, as we're bringing things to a close in this illicit joyride, with that said, it's hard to say if this is true or if anything's true, but there was a statement that accurately sums up the life and times of Mr. John McAfee, and it would be one he said himself. Quote, I hate to advocate alcohol, drugs, violence, and insanity to anybody, but it's always worked for me.
Oh, my God. What a statement in the end.
And that is the end of our story.
Talk about a wild ride. That's one for the books, right? I mean, geez, that guy, what a sequence of events. And again, you know, living in these other countries and dealing with these foreign governments and just like, it's just one part of the world to the next.
And, you know, a lot of our stories deals with heroes. I'd like to point out, we're not endorsing this man's actions. We'll file this one under anti-hero status.
Yeah, exactly.
But nonetheless, despite all these bonkers things he did, or things he claimed he did, or people claimed he did, the guy obviously wasn't a total Scarface whack job like what kind of became known later in life. He was obviously very smart. You know, he had a degree in mathematics. He was studying for a PhD. He owned a software company. So he wasn't like some kind of screw up, you know, street guy. You know? No, not at all. You know, and that's part of the reason why he probably got as far as he did, is because even though he was doing illegal things, he was smart too, and he knew how to get around it.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm. So, with that said here, do you have any other closing thoughts, Adams, after that wild ride?
I don't know. I think like a lot of our listeners, it just really, you know, a lot of that we've all heard before, some of the details, but just makes your head spin. I mean, going, man, how do you just wrap your head around being in that mindset? And again, with the sense of mystery going, you know, somebody faking their own death again. I mean, how many times have we seen that over the years? And it's just, I don't know. I have to lean on the side of like, I'd have to say he's probably gone. But at the same time, it really makes you think what's possible, what's not.
You never know.
You never know.
All right. So once again, I'd like to remind everyone we are on Patreon, and we would more than appreciate your support. And by all means, check out all the other links and descriptions we have in the description box below, including those new script links along with the sources for episodes such as this one. So with that said, I think we're going to bring things to a close, and we will catch you on our next episode of Joyride. How's that sound, Adam?
We'll see you next time.
All right. Signing out.